And so as we wrap up, anything, any kind of tips or resources that you want to share with coalitions, with advocates, Rand?
So there's one thing that I want to get in before I go to some resources. I do want to say we learned a lot and we're still learning it through this whole COVID pandemic. And since we're talking about shelter, I do want to throw out there that if every other shelter out there is like the ones in Missouri, because of the pandemic, you could not have people share rooms. You could only have one person, person without a child in a room or one family in a room. You couldn't have a lot of people sharing rooms. What we found is that programs reported, and I had meetings in every region as well, there were fewer communal living issues when people were not sharing rooms, and that overall there was better physical health and better emotional health for both residents and staff. They found that substance use still happened, but staff really was reporting they didn't feel that it was as big of an issue. And when we talked about that more, it was because they felt that they could actually really work with that person more because there were fewer people. Now, having said that, I absolutely understand that it is so hard when you are on the hotline and you have to say, I am sorry, we're full. Here are possibly some other resources, which they're going to be full too. But here are some other things that we can maybe work with you. Here's some other services that we provide until maybe some shelter opens up. But I also ask the question, is it harder to tell somebody the shelter is full, or is it harder to have to ask somebody to leave not voluntarily? And overwhelmingly, people said, oh, I hate asking someone to leave. And if we think about by the time we've had to ask someone to leave shelter, the effect potentially that has had on that person and the effect it's had on the rest of the community of shelter and the effect it's had on staff. So if we could reduce the number of people who actually were staying in shelter, and I'm not saying that takes care of everything, but if that allowed for people not to have the roommate issues, those communal issues, and that actually created a better environment and actually was a trauma-informed piece of things, is not having multiple people who have experienced trauma having to share a room with other people who have experienced trauma. And when we know the effects of trauma, are we actually providing another trauma-informed service kind of piece of things? So it really is what we're seeing is, and across Missouri, we've got programs who are now saying we are never going back to the numbers we had before. Our shelter census will always be now less because we are not having people share rooms, because we were able to actually work with, we were able to have more contact with people. We were able to spend more time with people. I don't know exactly how to explain this, but what some people I think were describing was because they were able to spend more time with those individuals because there were fewer people that were having these big communal living issues, they felt like people moving out of shelter also felt like they were in a better place when they moved out, that they were almost reporting that people were feeling like better prepared kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I do want to say that I think that's kind of some of our next steps in when we look at trauma informed and in the shelter setting of like, what does it mean to have that many people sharing a room? And if we start to reduce that, what does that mean for people really to be able, their experience within shelter itself? Yeah. Another thing that I would also just throw out, there's everything that you're doing. I think shelters are doing some fantastic work, and there are just some advocates are just amazing people. Between advocates and survivors, I mean, these are the most inventive and creative people that I've ever had the privilege to work with and the honor to work with. And I think that as you're looking at everything that you do, and you look at rules and you look at your services, what you're trying to do is just create the fewest amount of barriers that you can. And you're wanting to provide the most support that you can. It doesn't mean you're going to provide everything to everybody, but you have the opportunity. You have an opportunity to really, I don't know. When it comes to rules, I've heard people say, well, the world and life, it's full of rules. Yes. But you have this amazing opportunity to create an environment that is actually better than real life for that amount of time that people are with you. So I say, let's do it. And if you try some of these things, first of all, give it some time. If you take a rule away, remember that eventually, if you have to bring it back, you can. That's the other thing with this. Just because you change something doesn't mean it has to change forever, right? But give it a chance. Give it a chance. Don't just be like, we're going to try this for a week, and then if it doesn't work, we're done. No, no, no. Give it a legit chance. And some resources I would point you to. And I think at some point, they're going to be connected in with your website as well. But I did bring just How the Earth Didn't Fly into the Sun is a publication, and it tells you all about our rules project and how many of the programs did it. We also have a set of videos that I did with 3 of the people who were a part of that original project. And it's been, it was like 10, 12 years later. So they're talking about then and now. Yeah. And so I know eventually there's going to be a link to your all's website in that as well. I also would just let you know, please feel free to contact the Missouri Coalition. You can ask for me or anybody else, but yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. This is something that is near and dear to me. And having been a part from the beginning of it forward has meant a lot to me. And I've had, I don't know, there's a lot of great advocates out there who've been a part of this, and the programs that continue to be a part of this is how they do their work. And yeah, it works. It really does. It doesn't, you're always going to have issues. I mean, you're working with people. People aren't perfect. And you're right. This isn't about perfection. And this isn't about doing something right all the time, but it's trying to create something that is incredibly supportive. And it's just good advocacy. And it is, if you want all the catchwords of like trauma informed and all, it is all of those things. I promise. All of those things.
Absolutely. And those resources are linked on the website, and there's so much more. Laura, it has been such an honor to talk with you today.
Thank you.
To hear about the process, to benefit from your wisdom and your experience. You have made, and the Missouri Coalition has made, such a tremendous contribution to the field.
Thank you.
Yes.
And it's a shout out to you all too, because at least once or twice a week, I know that I'm on your website looking up resources. So when it comes to also all of this stuff, there is a mountain of stuff that is on your website, and webinars, recorded webinars, and all of that. And so I appreciate all the work that you all do too.
Thank you. Well, thank you again. And everyone, please check out all the resources from the Missouri Coalition that Laura named, and I'm sure there's many more and more forthcoming. And feel free to reach out to Laura and to the Missouri Coalition as you take this on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.